gonna end the answering now. Okay, so the correct answer for this question is D. Let's give a trophy to everyone that has answered correctly. And can you please put your hand up if you want to come up stage and you have chosen D as your answer? Louis,
Hello.
would you like to draw for us your Euler path for the graph below?
Yeah.
So I've given you the pen function. There you go.
Oh.
Maybe we could try circle the outside first. You know, do it around, starting from F. Yeah, I think that looks about right. And then go to the inside. There you go. So that would start from which node? Can you help me answer this? It would start from node.
I started from the F and
Yes.
then this.
And which node did you end it up on?
I ended up with F.
So we start with F and end with F, which is why our answer is D, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, good job. Thank you so much, Louis. Here's your trophy. Thank you for helping us. I'm gonna pop you off stage for now. How did everyone think the question was? I think this one is a little bit harder than the other one, but the key point is what we do is that, again, I would still recommend you try to figure out if how many odd nodes would there be in the graph. So for example, this one's an even one, even. So 1, 2, 3, 4, even, even, 1, 2, 3, 4, even. So you can see that they're all even nodes on there. That means there's no odd nodes. And what that means is that similar to the one that we had looked at last time, this one also had 0 odd nodes. And if you think about it, if we start from a point, and for the whole diagram to have no odd nodes, we cannot start it and then do whatever it is, and then we end at another point, right? Because if we do that, there will be, to some extent, there will be odd nodes in the entire graph. So for there to be no odd nodes at all, we kind of have to end back to that point. So it forms like a loop. Does that kind of make sense? You can kind of think of it as that way into explaining why we kind of always, if not all of the cases, ends with the same or start with the same and end with the same nodes if we have 0 odd nodes. Okay? So let's move on to the next question. So we'll just see how they draw it, okay? It might be a different way. So you see, it drew it differently from how Lois drew it, but that doesn't matter. We still started from F and ended up with F, okay? I mean, we could also start with G and end up with G, but the whole point is that we start from the same point as the point that we end on in these type of graphs, okay? Now let's move on. So we have learned that when a connected graph has 0 odd node, an Euler path can be drawn and its starting and ending nodes are the same. So this is the key point that we're trying to tell you guys from the last question. However, if this connected graph has 2 odd nodes, which node should we start and end with? Let's take a look at the following questions. Start at A, ended up with B. I think you would have to end at the same point. If you start with A and end with B, no matter which way you go, you will either repeat it or you will not cover all of it. Okay, so maybe Lois, just give it another try to see if it works out. You can draw on your notebook again to see double check carefully if it still works out, or are you repeating an edge or missing out anything. If it still works out, I'll invite you on stage later to show you how to let you show us how you draw, okay? But now let's move on to the next question first, just because we're a little bit behind on time. So the next question asks, does the graph below have an Euler path? Try to find out the answer by drawing and note which node you should start with and which node you end up with in your Euler path. Okay, let's first have a look at how many odd nodes there are in here. Okay, so anyone would like to give me a hand? Do we see any odd nodes at A? There's only one edge, so I would say yes, that's an odd node. Okay, what about at B? 1, 2, 3, 4. That would be even. And C would also be odd. Okay, what about E? 1, 2, 3, 4. That's even. F is also even. If you see, there's 4. G has 2. So if you look at it, all of these the little sharp corners of the star, they would all have 2 edges connecting to it. So we can just go ahead and say they're all even nodes. Okay, and the ones on the inside, they will all have 4 edges connecting to it, so they would all be even as well. So in the end, the only 2 odd nodes that we have is A and C. Do you guys agree with me? So these two, A and C, are the only odd nodes that we have in the entire graph. Okay, and do you remember what we just mentioned? If there's 2 odd nodes, let's see which one we start with and which one we end up with. Okay, like which node we start with. So we have done step 1. We determined how many odd and even nodes there are in the entire graph. And now let's draw the Euler path. Okay, so I'm going to start with A. Okay. And then just form a line. Okay, now let's go down, up, cross, down, up, and we ended up with C. Okay, so we can start with A and then end with C. Or actually, let's give it a try. Can I do it another way? What if we start with C and we go like this, and we will end with A. So we could also start with C and end with A. But the key point is we will start and end on different points. Does that make sense? Oh yes, Jojo, you can draw like that, like the first way that I did it. So like that, okay? But also, I just want to emphasize what we said before about the graph with no odd nodes in it. So you remember how we said if there's no odd nodes at all, it kind of has to loop back to it, right? But when we do have the odd nodes, it means that we don't have to go back to it because we can keep the number of edges connecting to it an odd number, right? This is why we start and end with different points. Do you see? We're starting and ending with different points. And that's why we would have odd nodes existing in the graph. Because we don't have to loop it all together, like connect you see, these 2 points are not connected. That's why we would have the odd nodes, okay? Now, so if a graph is connected and has 2 odd nodes, it has a Euler path which starts at one odd node and ends at the other odd node. Okay, they ends at different start and end at different points. That is very important for you to remember. So in this figure below, it can start with A and with C or the other way around. Now I'm going to give you another act question for you to do. Okay, 2.5 minutes starting from now. Similar to the last question, select which one would fit the Euler path for this graph. put up the selector. Alright, time is nearly up. So if I could get you to pop in your answer, that would be great. Alright, so I'm gonna end the answer now. Now the correct answer for this one is B. Congratulations for those that got it right. Now, I'm gonna open the chat. Do you guys mind if I go through this question for you guys? Just because we're a little bit tight on time and I don't want to drag you after class, okay? Now, let's go. So let's have a look. In this one, let's find out how many odd notes do we have in here. Yeah, I agree. It is a little bit harder than the questions we've done before. So hopefully after I explained it, you guys will all get it, okay? So let's start from A. This one is an even note, okay? And this one is 1, 2, 3, 3 edges, odd note. C, 1, 2, 3, 4, even. Now someone help me with D. How is this an even or odd note? Odd, yes, good job. What about F? E and F, are they even? Yes, good job, Xinyan. They're even, okay? Because we only see 2 edges connecting to each node. So you can see from here we have 2 odd nodes. That means we would have to start from one odd node and end on the other one. Now that gives us a lot of clues, okay? So let's see, let's try starting from B, okay? Let's start with B. How about we go from below here? Alright, keep forming the shape. Okay, give me a second. Do you guys see the line that I have drawn? I'm just gonna draw it again, okay? B to C, C to E, E to B, B to A, A to D, D to F, F to C, and then C back to D. Okay, so we could start with B and end with D. That would make the answer of this one B. Or you know what else we could do? We could also start from D. So very similar to what we have done before. And we would end with B. So it doesn't really matter. The whole key point is that we will start from one of the odd node and we will end on the other odd node. As long as they're two different odd nodes, that's a valid Euler path, okay? Now, let's move on to the next question. So this is another ask question. This is a little bit different. It's a application type of question. So I'm going to explain it. I want you guys to listen carefully because the graph below shows a layout of a children's playground. The nodes A, B, C, D, E, and F, F and G are the equipments and the edges of the paths. So Wukong and Una started from nodes A and B respectively. So Wukong will start from edge A, node A, and Una will start from node B. Okay, WK for Wukong. I hope you guys can understand that. And they're gonna start at the same time and compete to reach D first. So D would be our endpoint. They need to walk through all the paths at the same speed and finally reach node D, who will arrive first. So you might think this question is a little bit weird, but what is it actually asking is that if they're assumed to travel at the same speed, which means they'll cover the same distance during the same time, who will reach D first? So why is this related to our Euler path? Is because in the Euler path, we do not repeat any of the edges, right? So obviously, the person that can mark out their path with a Euler path will not have to repeat any edges. So think about this. If you want to cover all of the edges, because it's the same distance, it will take the same time, right? Given that they're traveling at the same speed. But if, for example, if I'm Una and I have to walk through an extra path, that would take me extra time, wouldn't it? That means we're trying to find who can draw an Euler path, which means they wouldn't have to repeat any path. Hence, they will be quicker. Okay? Let's have a look at this diagram first. Let's find out the odd nodes in the picture. So F obviously is even. E, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. That would make it even as well. And what about D? 1, 2, 3, odd nodes. 1, 2, 3, 4, C is even. 1, 2, B is even. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A is an odd node. So we have the nodes A and nodes D are our odd nodes in the diagram, okay? Which means when there are two odd nodes, we can draw an Euler path, but they would have to end and start at different points. Does that make sense? So if we want to end on D, we would have to start from A. That kind of already gives away that Wukong can rule out a Euler path, doesn't it? Which means Una would have to cover an extra edge. So can you guys tell me who will be arriving at D first? Yes, good job, Sophie. Good job, Chantal. Wukong would arrive at D first. Did that make sense, everyone? Yes? Okay, good job. So you see, it is a little bit different. It's application based, okay? Now I'm going to give you guys something to try using the same method. So because we're running a little bit low on time, I'm going to give you guys 1.5 minutes starting from now. So very similar to the last question. If you want to find out who's going to reach F first, we're going to see who can do an Euler path, okay? So I recommend you to find out the odd node in the diagram first. So just around 20 seconds left. Okay, I'm gonna close the selector. Okay, so the correct answer for this one is A. So Amy will arrive first. Trophy for you guys. Okay. So I know the class is a little bit over time, but I'm just going to quickly explain it so we can move on to the summary. So we're going to first find out they start from C and D, right? Amy starts from C and Bill starts from D. Which one is an odd node? C is an odd node, isn't it? D is an even node. So where is the other odd node in here? They're trying to reach F, which is the only other odd node in the entire graph, isn't it? 3 edges connecting to it. Every single other node is even. Okay, so the only two odd nodes is the C node that Amy is standing at the moment, and then the F, which is the endpoint they're trying to reach. So that means Amy would be able to complete a Euler path. Okay, because remember, if you have two odd nodes, you have to start from one odd node and end at the other odd node. Okay, so that means A will be the answer. Okay. Okay, sorry guys, we just ran out of the time a little bit. So feel free if you want to stay. I'm just going to wrap up really quickly. So we talked about even node and odd node. That depends on how many edges are connecting at each node. Okay, if it's even number, it's even node. Odd node will be having the odd number of edges. And we talked about the Euler path. Okay, that visits every edge once exactly, and it would have to be continuous. And if we have 0 odd nodes, the Euler path will start and end at the same node. And if we have 2 odd nodes, it will start at one node and end at the other odd node. Okay. Now that's basically the questions we've gone through today in the summary. Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you guys for attending the lesson today. So you can stay and I'll answer any questions you have. Okay. So are you still here, Riley? I'll answer your questions about the Act 6. Okay, see you, Ashley. Yeah, that's okay, Fernando. I understand. It is a little bit hard. It's more time consuming to do the questions because you have to draw it out and everything. But yeah. Um, let's see who asked the questions. Hmm. We could not tell if Amy or B were C or D. So how do we know that? It's actually in the question here, okay? So you see Amy and Bill, I'm going to mark it out. Amy and Bill start from point C and D respectively. What does the word respectively mean is that C and D, Amy and Bill, they're corresponding in order. So you see Amy is the first out of Amy and Bill, right? So Amy is first and Bill is mentioned second. That means they will correspond to the order of C and D, which means C, the first one that's mentioned, will be Amy's point. And D, the second one that is answered, will be Bill's point. Does that make sense, what respectively means? Yes? Yeah. So it basically, when we use the word respectively, we have things mentioned in set, and the order that they appear will be matching, okay? So for example, in this one, Amy appeared first, therefore it would match to the point that appeared first in the second set. I hope that makes sense. Yeah? It was A or B. What do you mean by that? I said C or B. It was A or B. Okay, that's okay. Alright, if you don't have any questions, you can leave the classroom. Anyone wants to ask me any questions? Alright, okay, bye Lois. Okay, I might close the classroom. Okay, bye guys.